Okay, picture this. You're on the back of a motorcycle. You pull up to a stoplight,
Mm-hmm.
and your partner turns around and says, "Hey, come feel my handles."
Okay, where's this going?
So you reach out, maybe give their sides a playful squeeze, love handles.
Ah, I see.
But no, they meant the actual motorcycle handles, the
How?
heated ones.
Oh, that's a great little story. A classic mix-up.
Exactly. And it just perfectly kind of sets the stage for these genuine misunderstandings that happen all the time in relationships, especially intercultural ones.
It really does. And, interactions like that, they aren't just funny little moments. They're actually super common. Our source material today points out that something like a third of all marriages in Australia are intercultural.
Wow, a third.
Yeah, it just shows how connected the world is becoming.
Absolutely. And if you've ever wondered, how couples actually navigate these really fundamental differences day to day, well, you're in the right place. Our mission today is to really dive deep into the science, if you like, behind these love handle stories. We're going to unpack 3 specific challenges, ones that are often kind of hidden that intercultural partners deal with.
And we should mention the insights we're drawing on come from a linguist. She speaks 6 languages, actually, and has done a lot of research specifically with intercultural couples. So it's a really solid perspective.
Definitely gives us a good foundation.
And yeah, while we are focusing mostly on romantic relationships today, these ideas, they really apply more broadly. Think intercultural friendships, even chats with colleagues at work.
Good point. So where should we start?
Well, let's kick off with something really core. The emotional weight of language itself.
Okay, so it's not just about, swapping information.
Not at all. Language actually shapes how we feel, our emotional experience. Your first language, the one you grew up speaking, that's usually the one that packs the biggest emotional punch.
Why is that exactly?
Well, it's often tied so closely to our earliest memories, right? Our family, our childhood, how we first learned about emotions. It's like the bedrock of our emotional world. It's not just words, it's feelings, history.
So something like saying, "I love you," that phrase might feel, I don't know, stronger or heavier in your native language than in one you learned later.
That's often the case. Imagine, say, a Japanese person and a fertile person, and they mostly speak English together.
Okay.
How do they make sure the full depth of that feeling comes across? Is there a kind of language distance? Does the English "I love you" carry the same weight for both of them as it would in Japanese or French?
That's a really interesting point. Does it take more effort, maybe?
Ah,
Or finding other ways to show it?
it can, and this applies just as much, maybe even more powerfully, with negative emotions. Think about anger, frustration.
Right.
In an argument, it often boils down to the impact of what was said, not just the literal words. You know that classic line, "It's not what you said, it's how you said it."
Oh, definitely. That resonates. It highlights how much we rely on unspoken stuff, the tone, the context, in our own language.
Exactly. And our source, the linguist, she actually shared a pretty intense personal story about this.
Oh, yeah?
Early in her relationship, she was arguing with her partner, and she used, well, a very offensive word in English, the C word.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And for her, at that time, she said it was just like a string of letters she'd heard. It didn't have that deep, visceral, emotional connection or taboo attached to it.
But for her partner, a native English speaker.
He was, quite rightly, shocked,
Yeah.
really hurt, and it just throws this massive challenge into sharp relief. In a heated moment, an intercultural couple is juggling so much. Choosing the right word, yes, but also figuring out how that word is going to land on the other person, the intended versus the perceived impact. And then there's the delivery, the intonation. Is it too strong, too weak?
That's a lot of extra layers to deal with when you're already upset.
It really is. It makes fights potentially much harder, much more complex than for couples who share a first language. It's exhausting, frankly.
Okay, so beyond the sheer emotional weight of words, what's next? You mentioned humor earlier.
Yes, humor. Our second challenge. And it's so vital, isn't it? Making each other laugh is, well, it's a huge part of feeling connected.
Absolutely crucial. But anyone who's tried to translate a joke knows it often just falls flat.
Or worse, sometimes it can even come across as offensive when you cross languages or cultures.
So why is humor so tricky?
Well, we can kind of break it down. There's the linguistic side. Maybe you just don't have the language skills yet to catch the sarcasm or understand a pun,
Right, the double meanings get lost.
Exactly. And then there's the cultural aspect. We all grow up in different sort of in-groups, families, communities, nations, where certain types of jokes, certain references are just understood. They're baked in.
Like the example in the source about shrimp on the Barbie.
perfect example. Apparently, not only do Australians not find it funny, it can actually be kind of annoying because it's this external stereotype that doesn't really reflect them.
Okay, I get that. Or maybe you're trying to explain why some, like, super cringy old TV show from your childhood is hilarious.
And your partner just stares blankly. The source mentions her husband didn't get why a particular 90s show she loved was funny at all.
Yeah, that lack of shared cultural shorthand.
And the impact, well, if you don't have that shared ground, one person is often stuck trying to explain the joke.
Which, as everyone knows,
It's the fastest way to kill it. A joke explained is never funny.
but it's not just about getting the joke, is it? It's also about making jokes.
Oh, absolutely. Producing humor in a second language, that's incredibly difficult. You need mastery of, like, the subtext, the punchline timing, the cultural context, the delivery, all while trying to sound natural and, well, funny.
That sounds like a high wire act.
It kind of is, and the research actually backs this up. Intercultural partners often report feeling, well, less funny when they're operating in their second language.
I can see how that would affect you, your confidence maybe.
Definitely. It can impact self-esteem and even the whole dynamic of the relationship. There was this quote from a guy in the research talking about his German-speaking wife. He said, "I don't think she's ever made me laugh in English."
Oof, that's quite something.
Yeah. And the linguist herself, our source, she felt the same way. Said she felt effortlessly hilarious in her native Austrian German, but just couldn't quite capture that same spark in English.
She felt like her husband might never know her true comedic genius.
Pretty much. That's the lament. And it creates this potential distance, right?
Yeah.
If you can't fully share that lighthearted, funny side of yourself, does your partner ever truly fully know you?
That's a really profound question. Okay, so we've got the emotional weight, we've got the humor gap. What's the third challenge? You said it was maybe the most subtle?
Yes, and for me, maybe the most fascinating. It's about the hidden power dynamics that arise purely from the language situation itself.
Power dynamics, how so?
Well, from a purely linguistic viewpoint, in almost any intercultural couple, there's usually one person who is linguistically superior and one who is inferior, though it's actually more complex than just saying who speaks better.
Okay, unpack that. What factors are at play?
Right, so the most obvious one is just raw language proficiency. Even if the non-native speaker is fluent, truly fluent, the native speaker almost always has that deeper, intuitive grasp.
Like the source mentioned, her husband handles contracts, explains tricky words in movies.
Exactly. He's the native English speaker. So in those situations, she becomes subtly, linguistically dependent on him. And that filters into their daily dynamic, often without them even noticing.
And I bet that dependency really shows up during arguments.
Oh, absolutely. That's when it becomes stark. The non-native speaker is often struggling, using, as she put it, double the energy just to find the right words, to express complex feelings accurately under pressure.
While the native speaker can just respond instantly.
Right. Their comebacks are immediate. She joked about wanting to say, thank you for your response. I'll get back to you in 3 to 5 business days.
Huh. That perfectly captures that feeling of lag, that frustration.
Doesn't it? But it's not just about individual skill levels. Another layer is the global status of the languages involved.
Meaning?
Well, some languages are seen as global players. English, Spanish, Mandarin, for example. They carry a certain weight, a perceived superiority, maybe.
And couples might naturally lean towards using that bigger language.
Often, yes. Like in her case, English tends to dominate over Austrian German, so the lesser spoken language gets used less, reinforcing that imbalance.
But it's not fixed, right? You mentioned it can change.
Exactly. This is where it gets really interesting. The linguistic environment, the country they're in, can totally flip the dynamic.
How so?
So when they're in Australia, her husband is in his native environment, his linguistic comfort zone. He holds the linguistic power, generally speaking. But when they travel to Austria, suddenly she's the one navigating everything, ordering food, translating for him at family gatherings.
Ah, so the role's completely reversed. She becomes the linguistically superior one in that context.
Precisely. So these power dynamics aren't just about the two people. They're heavily influenced by their surroundings, too. It's this constant interplay.
Fascinating. It really is a dance, isn't it? Between the partners and the world around them.
It absolutely is.
So, okay, we've laid out these 3 big challenges. The emotional weight, the humor gap, the power dynamics. It sounds pretty tough, honestly. What's the solution? How do couples navigate this?
Well, here's the slightly sobering news first, according to our source.
Oh, dear.
These challenges, they don't really ever go away completely.
Hmm.
Even couples who've been together for years, decades even, still often grapple with these things on some level.
Right, so it's not like you just solve them and move on.
Not usually, no. But, and this is a big but, there is definitely good news and, more importantly, actionable advice that comes out of the research.
Okay, let's hear it. What can couples do?
The first and maybe the most crucial step is simply awareness.
Awareness of what, specifically?
Awareness that your emotions, love, anger, joy, frustration, are deeply intertwined with your language background. Awareness that humor is so often culturally specific and might not land the way you expect.
Okay, being mindful of that.
And awareness of how your relative language skills and even the country you're in are constantly shaping that subtle linguistic tower dynamic between you.
So just knowing these things are happening.
Yes. Because once you become conscious that these dynamics are playing out for you, you naturally start to realize they're happening for your partner too. That fosters empathy.
That makes sense. Knowing is half the battle kind of thing. What's the next step?
The second recommendation is to actively, consciously build your own unique couple microculture.
Microculture. What does that mean?
It's like creating your own little world together, a blend of both your backgrounds, your habits, your traditions, and importantly, your languages.
How do you do that in practice?
Well, you can invent silly nicknames or words that only the two of you understand. You can make a point of switching between your languages regularly, even if one is dominant.
Okay, like code switching intentionally.
Exactly. You define your own unique sense of humor together. Create your own running gags, your insider jokes that don't rely on either person's original cultural context. It's about building your shared language, both literal and figurative.
I like that. Building your own shared world.
And crucially, part of that microculture is actively working towards a more equal power dynamic, finding ways to give each other chances to grow and feel confident in each other's languages, in each other's home countries if possible.
So seeing these challenges not just as problems to overcome,
But as genuine opportunities. Opportunities to learn, to adapt, to evolve together, and ultimately to deepen your connection in a really unique way.
that reframes it quite powerfully, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, navigating language in an intercultural relationship sounds incredibly complex, tricky even.
It definitely can be.
But these insights show that complexity is also where the opportunity lies. It's a chance to build something really strong and unique precisely because of the differences.
Well put. It forces a level of communication and understanding, perhaps, that other couples might take for granted.
And that leads us to the final thought from our source, doesn't it?
It does. The conclusion was essentially this: love is hard in a second language.
But it's definitely worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that leaves us, and you listening, with something to think about, perhaps. What does that kind of commitment, the commitment needed to bridge these linguistic and cultural gaps, what does that really mean for the depth, the richness of your own important relationships?
Whether they're romantic or friendships or even professional connections across cultures.
What does that extra effort signify? It's definitely something worth mulling over.